Alright folks, welcome back to another episode of Not Funny Guys Presents Go Team Venture, and I have finally learned how to say Spanakopita correctly. I apologize. Watching the episode again helped me remember. So before we hop in, remember like, subscribe, follow, share, all that fun stuff, but let's get into it. Episode 4, Season 5, Spanakopita. This originally aired on June 23rd, 2013, written by one of the co-creators, Jackson Public, which at this point should be a given, but who knows. Rusty takes Billy, Pete, and Hatred along with him to his annual Spanakopita festival, held on a Greek island that he was once on as a child. But the leader, Georgios, I think they call him Georgios, makes Hatred suspicious. Something's off. Georgios explains when confronted that he accidentally kidnapped Rusty while trying to plunder the X2 back in the day when it was in a harbor for a wedding. We find out more about that. And so when they plundered the X2, they got Rusty. They didn't find anything. They took him back to the island, and because he was inconsolable and his father didn't immediately come to rescue him, they basically made up this whole festival to satiate him. But then years later passed, he came back expecting to experience it once again. So it's been started up like for the last 20 years. And but he goes back years later believing it's real. So they've kind of kept up the ruse. Seeing how happy the festival makes Rusty, Hatred keeps the truth hidden from him. But then, of course, also we have a new member joining this situation, which is our friend Augustus St. Cloud. He has followed them to the island and joined in the festival's competition that were originally meant for Rusty. Rusty, of course, bets the X1 if he wins. St. Cloud would get that. As St. Cloud, of course, cheats his way through most of the challenges, Rusty orders Billy and Pete to take care of him, but they get caught sneaking onto St. Cloud's boat and discovering a stash of drachmas that he's been used to tally the victories of the challenges. St. Cloud ties them up, leaving Pete and them to burn in the sun, but St. Cloud's albino assistant frees them due to the albino code. Billy presents Georgios with St. Cloud's drachma that he's declared the winner, but St. Cloud, of course, purchases the island to prevent Rusty from enjoying his victory. Post-credit scenes, we have a flashback to when Jonas and the old Team Venture eventually do show up, and they basically beat the snot out of Georgios' group. That's why he has lost an eye and now has an eye patch for kidnapping Rusty. He swears he'll make him pay, and in the present, he victoriously counts St. Cloud's money. So he did pay. All right. First off, the title of this, if you simply look up Spanakopita on Google, you will find out that it is a Greek spinach dish. So that's fun. Like I said, Rusty brought Billy and Pete with him because Hank and Dean are sitting this one out. Hank is still in that Destiny suit, as we come to find out, and Dean is still going through his goth phase. We also reveal that Pete apparently thinks he's the manager for Shallow Gravy, the band, but Hank reveals that no, you're just our producer. They get spied on by Bubo from Clash of the Titans movie, the old with Harry Hamlin. We'll find out later who has that. As Spanakopita, Pete emerges from the X1 because he's albino, full getup, covered in sunscreen, and he looks a lot like Marlon Brando from the island of Dr. Moreau. They meet Georgios. They see the X2. He's like, oh no, JJ's here. It's not JJ. This is Augustus St. Cloud, who's bought the X2 along with Bubo, which is how he found out about this, and this is why he's here. Of course, he continues his quibbling with Billy. Rusty gets kidnapped when they arrive, which is apparently all part of the tradition. We then have St. Cloud showing up later in the evening when they're having wine on the first night. He shows up wearing the pajamas/swimsuit that was worn by the bad guy in Goldfinger. Billy says that it belongs in a museum. He's quoting Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade, which is hilarious. Hatred is, like I said, he is suspicious of this, and he spends most of his time trying to figure out what's really going on. The games feature Rusty and St. Cloud going toe-to-toe. Like we said, he bet the X1. There's the running of the goats, which St. Cloud rides on the back of his albino, and he cheats, and of course Rusty cheats, but St. Cloud still wins. Then there's sponge diving, where, of course, again, St. Cloud continues to cheat. Hatred eventually ends up calling Brock about all this, and he's told to let it go. And at this point, we do get a scene where we start noticing all these kids on the island who look very Greek and very olive complexion, but have this blonde mullet. So we know Brock has been doing his thing on the island in the past. We also have a scene where Greek gods are talking, and made up of the old Team Venture, unleash the Kraken, which is St. Cloud, and then there's a Pete, who is a Pegasus, Billy is Perseus riding him, and Rusty is Medusa's head, fighting. It's a very Clash of the Titans reference, but it's all Billy's dream. Billy and Pete get caught, like we said, going aboard St. Cloud's thing, but they're saved, of course, by the albino code. Hatred learns the truth about what happened in 1968 with Rusty's original kidnapping on the X2. All the stuff that's been made up to basically was designed originally to make him feel better, and then of course he came back. And apparently Jonas was off at Jackie O's wedding. Jackie Onassis, formerly Jackie Kennedy. We also have apparently she was then, and she had to be rescued by Team Venture from L. Ron Hubbard and his Scientology robots. So that's fun. The X2 got blown up. These are some of the reasons why he was delayed. The Kidnapper games made up these games to imitate Rusty. At the last game for the Punis carving, apparently St. Cloud called upon George Lucas to send him a Han Solo / Harrison Ford and Carbonite for his winning, but of course he loses because Billy got a hold of his drachmas and uses it, but of course St. Cloud bought the island. So, fun little side episode, get some little things. Apparently we're continuing to demonize L. Ron Hubbard. Not exactly the nicest guy, but who cares? Don't come for me, Scientology. I don't care. Do your thing. I'm not trying to demean you, but your creator was cuckoo. So, fun little story, but we move on to our next episode. All right, we're moving on to episode 5, O.S.I. Love You. It originally aired June 30th, 2013, written by co-creator Jackson Public. So we got 2 by Jackson right now. Like I said, most of these are all written by them. We should know this at point. But this is a fun episode. This is very G.I.Joe adjacent, kind of, you might say. But the O.S.I. has captured Monstroso and Cocktease. Knowing the guild will basically kill them no matter what, Monstroso explains about the council being really in charge of Brock and identifies one of the members, Boggles the Clue Clown. When Brock asks about the investors, it appears that Monstroso gets really frightened, and of course they will later show up and kill him. Cocktease escapes confinement, and Hank and basically confinement, and Hank on board to refill with the rest of them, refill Hatred's anti-pedophile medication, pursues her in his strength suit. She easily defeats him, takes the suit from him. Brock follows her to one of the engines on the helicarrier, whatever they call it, mothership, and appears to throw her into it. The federal agents who've been sent to do all this interrogation leave. Flashback reveals that hunter-gatherers stopped Brock from killing Cocktease and explained that she was been hired by O.S.I. to root out their double agents, and Brock threw an empty suit in. Gatherers marks Cocktease down as deceased, even though she's basically been working for them. The real agents show up to interview him. We find that the ones that we thought were the agents, of course, were the investors, and they vanish. We have Hank basically trying to repair his atrophied limbs, muscles from the suits being weak in there. And Hunter Gathers expresses his sympathy over him losing the suit's breasts, because apparently he's still not over the fact of that when he had his sex change. So during the meeting of this, we meet some of the O.S.I. members, including Headshot and Amber Gold. They are there when they capture Monstroso. We cut between the debriefing afterwards and the past, where the current chaos broke out, and the helicarrier is now in dry dock. The agents who show up are Mr. Frost, Mr. Sample, and a trainee. There are 3 of them. That's the key important, because they will find out later they are the investors. And when they show up later, the real ones, it's only 2 of them. Venture family gets involved because, like we said, they were coming there for their Hatred's medication. So they were there by accident when all this broke out. Hank was still wearing the Destiny suit, and Rusty says it's just like his obsession with his old Batman costume, which we saw him wearing in previous seasons. Molotov we see, of course, in the nozzle room while Monstroso is being interrogated by Brock. We have a flashback to when Brock and Molotov first met, and she killed his partner. He killed her father, who was basically her trainer. Monstroso spills the bean about the sovereign being not really David Bowie, but a shapeshifter, unaltered version of him, supposedly on the cover of Diamond Dogs. Council of 13 is the real power, and that's when we get the rest of it. The Councilman 4 being the Clue Clown, or whatever it is. Yeah, Boggles, the Clue Clown. Dean admits that he freed prisoners, and they think he's talking about Monstroso. It's like, no, he freed the primos, with the premonitions, like the precogs from Minority Report, who apparently poop out their premonitions. It's kind of gross. O.S.I. goes on alert when Molotov breaks out. Monstroso apparently gets eventually killed by the investors. They basically phase him through the wall and drop him. They don't know what happened to him. Hank at one point makes an Avengers ref. He wants to be, do they have an Iron Man division and a case to join the O.S.I. when they're getting the whole debrief. There are a bunch of agents, weird like G.I. Joe-esque agents who get taken out. Not short-leave straight and everything. Not really, but in terms of being on the right side. And by Molotov, she takes out these agents. They will basically be revealed as guild double agents. And eventually, like she said, she takes the suit from Hank. Turns out the agents investigating, doing the interrogations, we come to find out that they are the investors when the real ones show up at the end. Molotov's death is faked. She was hired to take things out by Hunter. Brock falls off the carrier at one point and gets luckily saved by X1 and the helper flying it. We also meet Snoopy, who is one of the O.S.I. bridge agents who I love. We'll see him again. And then, of course, Hank is recovering from the muscle atrophy at the end. So, fun episode. Just some little tie-ins. We get the reveal, of course, that Monstroso, the reveal we got back at the beginning of the season, that Monstroso and Molotov aren't dead. But we start getting little pieces, and of course, the investors are becoming a bigger little internal threat to things as they continue to kind of influence things. We now know Monstroso is actually really dead. Molotov has sort of been like off the books kind of like agent. And so we get this little fun thing. And of course, Hank is finally out of that stupid suit. And boy, does that come off as sad when they see him like, it looks like a puddle of his own sweat and pee. It's really sad. But so we'll be moving on next time. Next time we have Mama's Boys and Bot Seeks Bot. But we'll be back for those next time. And in the meantime, like, subscribe, follow along. Our new podcast, I think I mentioned this in the last episode. We've got our new podcast of Off the Reels out now. So you should be able to go check that out. The newest one, we're looking at the last of the Cornetto trilogy. We're looking at World's End, but we also have previous episodes covering Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead. So check those out. And we'll be moving on to doing a little Saoirse Ronan, oh gosh, I know I'm pronouncing her name, series starting next week. So keep an eye out for those as well. If you like to tell us more your thoughts, please feel to write into us at notfunnyguys.offthereels@gmail.com with any comments or any of that. Otherwise, I will see you guys next time, and go Team Venture. Say not funny guys again.
Not funny guys again.
No, can you say not funny guys?